Welcome back to my channel. I'm Chanel with Save Sell Chanel. If you're new to my channel, this channel is dedicated to the different ways I save and sell one day at a time. So let's get into it. This video, I'm going to talk about what my experience was like co-hosting Poshmark's Posh N Sip's Coffee Edition Week 1 Best Practices for Starting Your Business. Now, part 2 is going to be strategies on how to better market your Posh N Sip event, especially if you're in a smaller market. I know that I'm in a larger city, but there are different ways and different strategies that you can take that don't cost any money to help bring more people to your Posh N Sip events. And that's going to help whether you're doing a milestone event or you're going to do a coffee and sip event. And if you don't know what the differences are between the two, please check out my previous video that I did in regards to Posh N Sip milestones versus Posh N Sip pilot programs. I'll leave a link at the top of this video so you can watch that. So our first Posh N Sip Coffee Edition here in San Antonio, Texas, and actually happened throughout the country. It was week 1 of a 5-part series. The first week, Coffee and Sip hosts had to meet together to figure out who was going to do different work and talk about different topics. This was the first week where people in the San Antonio community and communities throughout the country were supposed to get together and talk about the topic of the week. And this week's topic was best practices when starting your business. Because we were a team of 9 co-hosts here in San Antonio, at our first meeting, we decided who was going to talk about certain topics. The first co-host to start off our series was Divine Duchess and Nevia's Closet. Good morning. It is October 22nd, 2019, and today is going to be an interesting video. It is a dual Posh N Thrift Coffee and Sip edition, and I wanted to show you what we're doing here. So I already have these bags filled, these totes from Sellers Merch over here, and I also have this bag for the raffle. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop off one of my Posh packages and then head over to the event. We got this.
It's way too easy to say stuff I never do. You know it's not how I feel, baby. So can we let this slide? Can't stand to see.
And I want to share with you different budget-friendly ways that I was able to step up the decors for the Posh N Sip event, especially since this event, Poshmark didn't provide any decor or any other accessories except for the tabletops that were provided through the Dropbox link. But the first thing was to have this tabletop where it says Posh N Sip hosts. Sorry about the glare, but because we had so many hosts, I had our names, our Poshmark closet, Instagram, and this is a simple thing that I did. This topper is something you can get at the Dollar Tree, and it's in the picture frame section. We also did this Ask Us About Poshmark. The rationale for doing this was because I don't want people to think that we were having a meeting and people who are passersby couldn't come and join us and ask us if they could sit down and learn about the app. So this was an intro so they could have some one-on-one interaction with fellow Poshmark sellers. I used this What is Poshmark flyer from my previous Posh N Sip events. Now, one of the things that you could do if you wanted to use one of the larger acrylic picture frame holders is to take this, scan it, and then print it out on a piece of paper and put it in one of the holders. It's really easy in terms of doing that, and this way you're not taking your time creating new flyers, and it's just something that you have to do, especially if you're a part-time seller like I am. Keep in mind you are dedicating your time to hosting these events, and your time is money. The time that you are spending coordinating and putting together, that means you're not sharing your Poshmark closet, you are not listing new items, nor are you putting new inventory together or shipping out your items. So I'm trying to find time-saving solutions so that you can put a good quality networking event together on a budget. Another thing that I did, as mentioned in my first video, is to bring these notepads. I bought these at the Dollar Tree. They're 4 for $1, and I also bought a packet of pens. They're 8 for $1. And this way people can write down the notes during the hosts who are talking about the topic of the week, write it out on the notepad, and I encourage them to come back and bring the notepad along with the pens so that for every every single event that they go to, they will have all of the information in one location. I also used these tickets, this raffle ticket. Now keep in mind, this is something that I wanted to do. I was clearing out inventory in my house, and you don't have to do raffles, but to help encourage people to come, I went ahead and did a raffle where there was some extra Poshmark swag that I had from previous events, and I went ahead and bought with my own money, not Poshmark funded or anything, a $25 gift card so that they can come back, use that gift card for the other Coffee and Sip edition events that we're going to have at Starbucks. I also used my previous Posh N Sip decors to help us when taking pictures. This one was from my previous Posh N Sip event. This is given to me by Poshmark during the decor box, the milestone program. And this one is something that I made specifically for San Antonio for my first Posh N Sip event. I'll leave a link if you're interested in doing something like this at the top of this video. And since I've had previous Posh N Sips in the past, I continue to use this Posh N Sip guest book. I've used this notebook for multiple Posh N Sip events, and it's a good way so that all of the Poshmark San Antonio people's names, they wrote their name, their email, the Poshmark closet, and I went one step further and asked them what their Instagram handle was. We are part of a Facebook group, a San Antonio Poshmark community Facebook group, and if you don't have one in your community, I recommend doing that if you are already on Facebook. I wouldn't start a brand new Facebook. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, that's totally fine. But it was one of the ways that we were able to communicate with one another and grow our community. And so what I usually do after each Posh N Sip event is if they are comfortable with me sharing their name, their Poshmark closet, and their Instagram handle, I'll go ahead and share the list of attendees with other people. This way they can follow each other on the Poshmark app as well as on social media. So it's helping build their network. Now that I've helped share tips on how to elevate your Posh N Sip decor on a budget, I'm gonna go and share with you some of the tips that I learned during the Posh N Sip event this week. Now, the first section of best practices when starting your business, Chris is the one that talked about it. It said, your cover shot is your listing's first impression. Discuss your tips and tricks for taking the best photos. Here are some questions to ask the group. Do you prefer flat lays and OOTDs? And if you don't know what OOTD stands for, it means outfit of the day. It means that you are pairing that item, whether it's a t-shirt, a pair of pants, with other clothing and accessories so that the potential buyer has an idea of what the outfit could look like in their own closet. Do you use natural light or filters? What kind of camera do you use? What are some ways you make your cover shots stand out? So in terms of the first question, do you prefer flat lays or OOTDs? So flat lays and OOTDs are very similar, but for flat lays, some people lay their one item on the floor. Some people do multiple combinations of outfits. And for someone like me, I personally use mannequins or hang them on the door. There are very cost-effective ways that you can do it. There is a hook that you can buy at the Dollar Tree and put it over your door and use a hanger to hang your items. You can use natural light, use apps and other things to help brighten the picture. For Chris, she had mentioned that she personally uses a mannequin or hangs items, and that she'll use collages to help put the pictures when it comes to long dresses, when it comes to pants, and put it in her closet that way. In terms of do you use natural light or filters or ring light, there was a lot of feedback. Everyone uses something different, and it depends on the space that you have in your home and whether or not you have windows in your own home to use natural light. Personally, I am lucky that I have really good natural light. I have studio lights, and if you're not familiar with studio lights, they're the big box lights that you are normally going to see at photo shoots. Very popular right now are ring lights that you can use. You can put your smartphones inside the ring light and take photos that way, and then you combine it with other apps to help brighten up pictures. Now, there were two apps that Chris had mentioned, and one was Hit Tap Go. Now, it is an app that you have to purchase. It is $2.99, but it makes the editing easier and brightens up the photos, helps with the contrast. If you do not want to spend money, especially if you're unsure if that is an app that is right for you. She also mentioned an app called Snapseed. That is also an app that I currently use to help with marketing and to help brighten my photos. The other question was, what kind of camera do you use? There are some people who do have professional cameras, but she had mentioned that if you're starting off, don't go ahead and invest a lot of money, especially if you don't know whether or not Poshmark is for you. do. Don't go and spend $400, $500 on a professional camera. If you have a smartphone, if you have the ability to get on the Poshmark app, that means you have the ability to use a phone to take photos. And the best way is to use your own camera on your phone and use apps to make your photo look better. And what was one of the ways to make your cover photo stand out? So Chris had mentioned that it's really essential, especially for search engine optimization, to use a white background so that it pulls from Google. And she used the apps that she had mentioned before, which was Pick Tap Go as well as Snapseed, to help brighten the background so that the actual image, whether it's shoes, whether it's a t-shirt, whether it's pants, will be the main feature in the shot. And usually a lot of people, especially if you're a part-time seller, which Chris is, she has a full-time job. She had mentioned that your time is valuable, so that she'll make sure that her cover photo is the best photo, and then the other ones, you know, she'll take usual photos but not take the time to readjust all 8 photos for one item. The other topic is sharing. Sharing is one of the keys to success. The more you share, the more exposure your listings get. Walk the group through some of the strategies you use to share. So I actually learned something new. Chris had mentioned this, and it's something I had learned years ago, but I completely forgot to do it because personally on my day-to-day basis, I don't use the feed feature on Poshmark as often as I used to. And what you're seeing here is an example of what the feed looks like. As you can see, it is very similar to the feed that's on Instagram. So for people who already use Instagram or social media, it's very comfortable to use the Poshmark app because of the layout. And one of the ways she mentioned when she does have time is to share from the feed, because the people on the feed are actually the ones currently on the app or active on the app in terms of sharing their own listings or their own closet. Clearly those people are already on the app and may have bigger closets than you. The other strategy was to go into the search feature, find people or new poshers, follow them, as well as share new poshers closets. It really helps to gain followers and to build exposure to your own closet. So now I'm going to talk about the topics that Janet talked about. The topic was everything you put in the listing matters. Talk through how you think about crafting the listing. So the first question is, here are some questions to encourage conversation. How do you think about listing titles and descriptions? How do you make your listings discoverable? Are there any keywords you use? How do you think about pricing items? How do you make sure your prices are competitive? So let's go ahead and go through the first question. How do you think about listing titles and descriptions? Now, Janet is a full-time seller. Congratulations to her. She has sold over 3,000 items on the platform. So that is huge. She's also gone to multiple Posh Fests, which is the corporate event, and she's gone to multiple Posh N Sip events throughout the country. So she has been able to learn from fellow Poshmark sellers throughout the country and use that towards selling items in her own closet. Now, because of that, she said one of her biggest pet peeves, especially if you are a new Poshmark seller and don't quite know how to put titles in the app, is to put titles such as cute top, black top, red top, party top, but it doesn't mention anything that are essential. So if you are brand new to Poshmark, here are some of the things that you need to do, especially when it comes to titles and making sure you are set up for success in terms of search engine optimization. Tip number 1 is to make sure that you have the brand, you have the size, you have the style. So an example would be a Banana Republic women's blazer, size large. Now, if you still have enough characters to put colors, to put prints or anything specific, do that. But you need to make sure that when someone is searching in Google, let's say a Banana Republic red blazer for the holiday season, that you have those keywords and descriptions that would help pull up onto the Google app. As you can see, there is a theme that a vast majority of the images have a white background. As Chris had mentioned in her previous statement, that using a white background does help you. Now you pair that white background with a solid title and you will be shown in search. Now going back to the descriptions, Janet also mentioned that don't put word for word your title in the description box in the Poshmark app. Use something creative in terms of changing the words around and making sure that the title and the descriptions do not cancel each other out in Google search. Now personally, I don't use the exact same words when I input a listing in my closet. Personally, I use a brand, the women's size, and then I'll use a description of the item. For my personal titles. What I'll also do is state a description of how they can use an item. Let's go ahead and use this listing as an example. So this US Polo Association men's jeans is my latest listing that I sold on Poshmark, and it sold for the price that I'd listed it as. So as you can see in the description, it says, combine comfort and style with these US Polo Association jeans. So I have already created an image of how the fabric would feel on the potential buyer and still stated what the brand is. Throughout my listing, I'll also state whether it's pre-owned and also what it's made of, what the size is, and then I'll go and refer them to the pictures that have all of the measurements. For me, I am a part-time seller, so I don't have time to type out each and every single measurement. What I personally do is I'll take a picture, put a collage together of all the measurements, and if they have any questions, they will comment and message me. Now, I'm not saying that other people don't do that. If you want to go ahead and do that, feel free to do so. Personally, for me, it's just been easier to take measurements and give people a visual, because a lot of people are like, well, it's written in the description box down below. But let me tell you, people process information differently. Some people aren't really great at reading, but can take a look at a photo and see immediately what you're stating. And when it comes to measurements, when it comes to how you personally want to measure, especially when it comes to pants, you're going to have to decide. But a vast majority of us are going to measure the top of the pant, the rise of the pant, the inseam. And then for me, I go a step further and I'll measure the bottom of the pants, because not everyone has the same widths in terms of ankles. And this is essential, especially when it comes to skinny leg jeans or ultra skinny jeans. This is just something that I've done before, and I honestly haven't shared it in any of my previous videos, but these are my own personal techniques. Feel free to do whatever works best for you. The other question was, how do you make your listings discoverable? Are there any keywords you want to use? So as I stated before, you always want to state the brand, you want to state the style, put something specific that someone may be looking for, especially if it's a night out or sequin dress. Be very specific, and then put the size and the color if you have enough characters in your title. How do you think about pricing items? One of the ways that you can check what are called comps on the Poshmark app is to go and search in the app, change the setting to sold, and search for something that you're looking for. Let's say, for instance, I'm looking for a Banana Republic blazer. These are the more recent items that have sold within the Poshmark app. So based on that, I can also see whether or not my price is in that price range or how I should sell it, especially if you're on the Poshmark app. Keep in mind, Poshmark keeps 20% of what you sell, and most likely people are going to send you an offer. So you tend to want to price your items a little bit higher than what you expect it to be, because you want to make sure that you're selling your item after fees, after potential offers, that you're selling your item for a profit. If you're putting it on the app, or if you're a reseller, you want to make sure that you're not losing money. If you're taking the time to list and post, you want to make some money for the time that you spent listing that item. And I want to mention, if you're not a reseller and you're just someone just trying to clear out your closet, one of the ways to do that is to make sure that you're just being honest with your potential buyers. I know a lot of you are brand new and are not expert at using apps. Make sure that you put yourself in the position of the buyer. If you're buying something online, what would you want to know as a buyer? Are there questions that you may know? Be as honest as possible. Use good lighting. If there is a stain, make sure you disclose it, especially with pictures. And one of the tricks that you can use is either use a measuring tape or use a penny next to the flaw as a size comparison. Just think about what the potential buyer wants to see, wants to know, and answer the questions before your potential buyer asks you the question. When are the best times to share? How many times a day do you share? Are there any strategies you found that work? And as a consensus, I feel as a group, because my San Antonio Poshmark group, all of us were on Poshmark, but some of the people who attended have only been on the app for 1 month. The best times to share, especially if you're a part-time person, is when you can. Tip number 1, whenever you have time, make sure you're sharing your closet at least once a day. And if you can, share to all of the Posh parties. Now, it doesn't matter what time of day you are sharing. Sharing is especially great for you, or sharing other closets. Now, keep in mind, although you may be in a different time zone as someone else, Poshmark sells from New York all the way to Hawaii. So those are so many time zones and sellers buying throughout the entire day. So whenever you have a chance, share at least something in your closet to keep your closet active. How many times a day do you share? It's really going to depend on you. Now, if you're a part-time seller like I am, I'm going to try to share before I go to work, during my lunch break, or when I have a spare moment when I get home from work. That's my strategy. I have other Poshmark sellers who have the ability to share at least 2,000 times a day. It depends on how many items you have in your closet. So it really depends on your situation and what's best for you. Are there any other strategies that you found that work? So Janet also mentioned that she is part of multiple share groups. She is part of a vintage share group. She is part of a Justin share group. So based on that, for example, I am part of her Justin share group. So if you list at least 2 items or more during a specific day, you'll be part of that group. By a certain time, you'll let them know how many items you've listed, and we'll try to share 20 items out of each person in that list who participated in the Justin share group. And it really helps to bring exposure to your closet. So if you're not part of a Poshmark share group, you can join on Facebook if you have access to Facebook. But if not, you can also search on the Poshmark app share group. There are so many things that you can use if you are not on social media. Let's say, for instance, you're not on Instagram, you're not on Snapchat, Twitter, Tumblr, YouTube, Facebook, whatever you choose not to be on social media, but your means of social media is Poshmark. There are different ways that you can use the Poshmark app to get the information that you need. So don't feel like you're alone. One of the ways that you can use the Poshmark app to find what you're looking for is to use the search tool. Use keywords. Keywords are essential. And if you can't find a key phrase, use a singular word such as posh, sip, share. There are things that are going to pop up that hopefully in the feed that you're looking for. And if it doesn't work that way, use Google to help you find what you're looking for. Poshmark has its own blog, and there are other Poshmark sellers who are bloggers who have so much information in regards to the Poshmark app and how to navigate it. And I finally asked Janet towards the end of the event, of all of the information that she had provided, what are her top 5 tips? She said, tip number 1, titles and descriptions matter. Make sure to list the brand, name of the item, and size of the item, and always include measurements. Tip number 2, share your closet at least 3 times a day and join share groups. Number 3 is follow new poshers. Tip number 4, share from the feed to gain new followers and shoppers to your closet. Tip number 5, try and list new items every day. It keeps your closet fresh and in the feed. Finally, always have fun. So that is everything that I learned during week 1 of the Poshmark Posh N Sip Coffee Edition. I want to hear from you. What did you learn at your Posh N Sip Coffee event? Leave it in the comments section down below. I'd love to hear from you. And make sure you subscribe, because this is a series to share with you what I learned during my Posh N Sip Coffee Edition here in San Antonio. And I'm going to share with you all of the future information that I learned from all of the other events that are coming up. And make sure you check the links down below. If you are in San Antonio and want to join my events that I'm helping co-host, make sure you check all of those links down below and mark your calendars. And if not, go ahead, and if you're not part of the San Antonio area, make sure you're using Google or Facebook to find a Poshmark Posh N Sip Coffee Edition near you. So make sure you check my part 2 of this video for the Poshmark Posh N Sip posts, different ways to help market your event for next Saturday. And these are all free strategies that you can use, especially if you don't have Facebook, you don't have Instagram, and you can also use Poshmark as a way to market your event so it is more successful. I'm gonna go ahead and leave the video here. If you like the video, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and hit the bell icon to be notified of all of my future videos. So until next time, I'll see you in my next video.
We got this.